Welcome back to another episode of Riding with Robin. In this week's episode, we sat down to discuss the Pennsylvania Learner's Permit. What is it? How do I get it? And what is the GDL? All answered right now. Hi. How do I start the process of getting my license?
Well, there's a couple of things that you need to know in order to get your driver's license in the state of Pennsylvania. You actually have to get your learner's permit first. So you have to be at least 16 years of age to do that. And there's some things that's required of you to make sure that it's okay for you to drive, meaning you have to go to a doctor to have a physical fitness test done because the doctor has to sign off that you're physically fit to operate a vehicle in the state of Pennsylvania. Obviously, you have to get permission from your parents. So there's a form that they have to fill out. And really, I start to tell young people at the age of about 15 that they probably need to study this right here. And this is the Pennsylvania Driver's Manual. Now, it might be hard to find an actual hard copy of it, but you can go onto the Department of Transportation website and get a copy of it. Or you can go to the Cindy Cohen School of Driving website, drivingbythebest.com, and I'm sure Terry will be able to provide you with that link to get a copy of the driver's manual. But if you would turn to page 1 in the manual, you'll see what's needed in order to get your learner's permit. So once again, there's a form that has to be filled out, a DL 180 by your parents. You have to have a physical fitness test by your physician, and then you need to take a knowledge test. So that's why it's so very important to study this manual from the front cover to the back cover.
Okay, are there any special things that teenage drivers need to know after they get their permit?
Absolutely, great question, because things have changed since I got my permit. And probably for all of my young drivers out there, or soon to be young drivers, your parents have no idea what the graduated driver's licensing law is. That's called a GDL. So once you pass that knowledge test and you pass that vision test, now you have your permit. So anyone under the age of 18, there are some things that you have to make sure that you follow in order to take the road test. First of all, you can't even take the road test until you've had your permit for 6 months. Also, you have to do 65 hours, that's correct, 65 hours of practice time. 5 of those hours have to be in bad weather, so it's a good idea to drive in the rain and have an opportunity to drive in the snow. And you also have to have 10 hours of driving at night. We want to make sure that you're able to handle that vehicle when in the hours of darkness, because driving at night is a little different than driving in the daytime. So those are things that you need to know. Also know this, parents, you can't let your 18-year-old licensed driver, your 19 or even your 20-year-old licensed driver teach their younger brother or sister how to drive. Your coach has to be someone 21 years of age that is a licensed driver. I highly recommend parents that you get involved with teaching your kids how to drive. You need to understand what they're learning, help them to develop good habits, and if you need help with that, you can always call the school here and we can assist you with that. But you have to make sure that you have someone that's a licensed driver, 21 years of age, helping them learn how to drive.
What sort of restrictions do I have after I take my road test?
Well, you have a few restrictions because of the GDL. And remember, it was designed to minimize those times that our young drivers are at their highest risk of being involved in a crash. You have to remember, when you're operating that vehicle, for a new driver, you're multitasking. When I say multitasking, I don't mean brushing your teeth or on your cell phone. I'm talking about making sure you're paying attention to your surroundings, making sure you're paying attention to the speed of the vehicle. So you have speed management, you have space management. You need to know how your vehicle operates in case there's a malfunction with your vehicle. So there are a lot of things that you're doing when you're learning to drive. So yes, your brain is multitasking. You're creating that muscle memory. So we want to minimize those times when our young drivers are at their highest risk. So that GDL, if they're under the age of 18, once they pass that road test, there are some restrictions. First one, You have a curfew. The curfew is 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. There are some restrictions, there are some exemptions to that. I'm sorry, and those exemptions would be if you're a volunteer firefighter, if you are employed, or if you're involved in a charitable organization or an event. And you have to have some type of documentation or some type of notification in writing on you, on your person, in case you get pulled over or there's an encounter with law enforcement and you're able to prove that you're involved in one of those exemptions. Also, there's a passenger restriction because we realize that for every passenger you have in your vehicle, you increase your chances by 50% of being involved in a crash. So how do we restrict that? We make sure that we minimize the number of people that you have in your vehicle, meaning as a new young driver under the age of 18, you cannot have any more than one unrelated person in the vehicle with you for the first 6 months under the age of 18. So if you pass your test one day, the next day you can't load up your car and take everyone to, I don't know, get something to eat or go to the movies. So you have to make sure that you reduce the number of people you have in a vehicle. So once again, you can't have any more than one unrelated person in the vehicle with you for the first 6 months under the age of 18. After the 6 months are over, if you're still under the age of 18, you can't have any more than 3 unrelated people in the vehicle with you under the age of 18. Because once again, for every passenger, you've increased your chances of being involved in a crash. Once you turn 18, your license becomes unrestricted. So you don't have that curfew and you don't have the passenger restrictions. But as a former state trooper, I would say it's probably in your best interest, Mom and Dad, to have your own set of rules that will supersede the state laws and make sure that you protect your young driver.
That's it. A big thank you to Robin. And for any more questions about anything we talked about today, make sure to visit our website, www.drivingbythebest.com. Tune in next time for School Bus Safety. See you then.